Great. Thank you all for joining tonight. It's really important that we're always thinking about our parenting skills. And I know it can be very challenging. I had three children very close together in age, and I very well remember the challenges of trying to get out to work on time and things like that. Um, so over the series of parenting discussions, we're going to be talking about a variety of pretty common, struggles and issues and some ideas for success and how they relate to Montessori philosophy and how you can utilize Montessori philosophy at home as well. So for those of you on the recording, you can find all the notes for this on our Child at Home webpage. So you can go to any one of the schools, Coast Redwoods, Montessori.com, Little Acorns, Montessori.com, Quail Hollow, Montessori.com. And along the top, you'll see a tab for Child at Home. And there's some general information there, but if you scroll down a little bit, you will see the resources for session 1. And today I call the session, I Can Do It. Parents and children are much more similar than we might imagine, but they also can have vastly different goals. And both can have mistaken goals. Both have skill strengths and challenges and personality traits, which could be very different from one another, even though all the building blocks came from the parents. As a parent, it's important to remember that you and your child might not cohabitate easily. And at first, the burden will be on the adult to recognize and make accommodations for this. Later, you'll be able to work with your child on negotiations to meet the needs of both parties. The Montessori philosophy teaches us to first honor every human being, no matter how young, as a complete and unique individual, due our respect. We generally all love our children, but we may not treat them with respect. And for those of us guiding children on their path of development, Dr. Montessori encourages lots of observation and liberty so that you can interpret the needs and the goals of your child. I really like the positive discipline chart, the mistaken goals chart. And that's one of the links that I provided for you. You might want to pull that up and take a look at it. The link is on our Child at Home webpage. I want to start by introducing you to this chart because as we go along, you're going to be seeing how sometimes the mistaken goals of the child and the common responses of parents can lead to some very common struggles. And I love how the Montessori methods can help us to avoid falling into these common issues. The number one goal is attention. The primary thing that children want is to be noticed and included, to be seen as capable and valuable, contributing members of their community. Undue attention is mistaken goal number one because it's very common. When a child wants attention, it does not really matter to them if they're getting negative or positive attention. If their goal is attention, they'll take whatever satisfies this goal. We can help prevent the development of undue attention-getting behaviors in young children through the following main things. Find ways for children to gain useful attention. Useful is the key word there. Give attention to positive behaviors. A lot of times I see parents giving more attention to negative behaviors than they do to positive, and that could actually be feeding that pattern of the child misbehaving in order to get your attention. Allow children to have their feelings. Sometimes, parents are trying to move them along or hush them up or just make them feel better and stop crying with whatever means possible. But that, again, can lead to a process where the child realizes if they misbehave, they may be getting something out of that. Maintain clear boundaries and don't change them due to tantrums or misbehavior. Engage children in problem solving. Even fairly young children could be participating in kind of a little family meeting where you could lay out an issue that's coming up and talk through some possible solutions. And set aside quality time with your children. Quality is much more important than quantity. So just because you're around them while you're doing what you're doing, it's not going to be meeting their their desire for your eye contact and your full attention. So trying to set aside quality time. If you have multiple children, it's a good idea to try to set aside time for each individual child, separate from the other child. Just a little bit now and then, it can go a long way. Let me check the chat and see if anybody has any questions so far. And just double checking if anybody came in after the start. Does anybody not see the links to the resources that we're using tonight? Okay. Okay. As promised, my first nose blowing pause. Okay. So, in order to create an environment where you can give your child lots and lots of opportunities to get attention for positive behavior, and for feeling really usefully involved, we really want to look at this idea of independence, which I know you hear us talk a lot about in our Montessori classroom. So, you want to set the children up for success in their environment. Dr. Montessori said, any child who is self-sufficient, who can tie his shoes, dress or undress himself, reflects in his joy and sense of achievement the image of human dignity, which is derived from a sense of independence. This is what we're looking for. I know you've all seen that moment when a child's like, they light up and it's like, I get it. When they've done something for themselves that they've been working on. It's really powerful, and it's what we want to give them. We want to give them as many of those experiences every day as we possibly can. Do you find yourself doing most things for your child in an environment set up for adults? How can you make everyday tasks and chores child-friendly, developmentally appropriate, and accessible? Get curious. When your child spills, do you clean it up for them? What if they had a bucket, a sponge, and a small stool to give them access to a sink? They could get their bucket and sponge and clean up their own spills, which they do at school. So we give them the training. You just need to give them the environment where they can continue that. When they're getting dressed, does your child have far too many options, inappropriate options for the season, or are their shelves, drawers, and hangers too high? An easy modification is to put a small set of options at your child's level, on a shelf or in drawers or on a low hanging rack. Keep it simple and select clothing that your child can easily take on and off. Sometimes they have adorable outfits, but little skirts are actually quite different for 2.5-year-olds who are trying to potty train. It's really hard to get, part lifted up and part pulled down. They can't find their undies. So that adorable outfit, would be better later when they have a pretty good handle on taking care of their needs quickly. A lot of the little boys' pants, they have little tight ankles these days, and they're really hard for them to get off. Same with the little girls' tights. So even though they might not be as adorable, it would be much easier for them to really be independent if you are careful about the choices of clothing that you give them. And please keep in mind that we do ask children not to wear clothing that has movie characters, story characters that are well known. This is because it gets them talking about the characters they're wearing, and it tends to make them want to act like the character that they're wearing. And pretty much every character fights somebody somewhere. So that can end up in kind of an aggressive action at school, and also just be distracting from what else we're doing. So please keep that in mind and send your children with just simple clothes. Are they hungry or thirsty and waiting on you for them to get a drink or food? Set up a shelf with pre-approved items that you're okay with your child eating at any point during the day, like fruit, bananas, or apples, or other healthy snacks. Limit the number of items to 3 or 4 a day to avoid snacking too much between meals. Be sure to have plates, bowls, and utensils available for them as well, and a small dish bin to put dirty dishes in. Model how to get their food and how to clean up after themselves until they get the hang of it. For most children, we really, really encourage that you do have a small table and chair that that are just their size and somewhere where you are a lot, like probably the kitchen. I don't know about you, but I spend a lot of my life in the kitchen, feeding and cleaning and eating and cooking. So where you're going to spend a lot of time, that's a great place to have a table and chair that's just their size. And so that way they can be near you and feel included, but also have a space that's comfortable for them and where they can bring their snacks and clean up comfortably for themselves. Expand your thinking a little bit. What else could your child do independently? I bet you'd be really, really surprised. Uh, could they warm up food in a microwave? We've actually set this up in our classrooms on occasion, and they definitely can do it. You want to think about how we had little stickers, 1, 2, 3. They could only do like, a 30-second warm up. And of course, we were always nearby, so you want to be careful about that. But they definitely could do it, and they really liked to do it. Can they wash their face? Yes, I've seen some really great options where you have those little round flat cotton, face pad things, and they can spritz it with a little bit of water or dunk it in a little bit of water and wipe their face with it. It's very manageable size. Um, could they feed the pets? Giving them some chores, helping to, get food. I know my granddaughter, our poor pets are like stuffed because every time she comes to visit, that's the first thing she wants to do is go feed everybody, and she fills their bowls to the top. But she loves to do it, and she knows where all the parts are and who gets what kind of food, and so that's something that she really enjoys. Can they put dirty clothes in the laundry or sort their laundry by color? Darks or lights or whites and colors, however you're doing it. Can they fold their laundry? Some of the things they definitely can fold, especially starting, three or four and up. It just takes time to show them how. And it's especially great for them to do it while you're doing it, because then again, they're doing something useful and feeling included. Can they fill or empty the dishwasher? They can put their dishes in the dishwasher. So if your family uses the dishwasher after dinner instead of putting their dishes into a dish bin, there's no reason why you couldn't have a little place for them to, wipe off their dish and put it right directly into the dishwasher. Uh, at school, we are from, roughly 18 months and up, we are practicing wiping our dishes in a bin of water. So most of them, do have access to that. And even our infants are taking their, as long as they can walk, they're taking their dishes and they're dumping out any food they didn't eat and putting their dish in a dirty dish bin. So again, we start all these things and you could definitely piggyback on that at home. They actually like to clean the cat litter box. Of course, you want to give them a scoop and make sure they're not touching anything. But that was another favorite of my granddaughters. We live out here in the woods, so we would, clean the box when the kittens were little. We had a box for them. We'd scoop it up and we'd just fling it over the hill, and that was her favorite thing to do to fling the cat poop. Uh, Learning how to make their bed. Actually, there's a lot that they can do. Again, if you're thoughtful about it, using a plaid bedspread is really helpful because it has stripes going both directions. It can help them to line up the edges of the bed and the top of the bed. So making sure that you're not expecting, not a huge blanket. If they have a small blanket, they can put on top, making it really manageable for them. Teaching them how to button or zip their sweaters and their jackets. It's really fun to start thinking about all the ways that you might set up their environment in order to make your child really successful at a new opportunity for independence. I'm going to take a drink and blow my nose, and I'm going to check the chat here to see if anybody has any questions. Please do speak up. If you do have something that's really, really particular to your child, we can hold off, and I'm happy to answer things at the end or on another day with you specifically. Please resend the link. Okay. Thank you. Somebody resent it for you. Thank you. Okay. Anyway, a lot of these evenings, I know I talk a lot, and I do have a lot to share with you, but I definitely do want to hear if there's any questions you have or anything you've tried. Uh, 1 second while I have my drink. So sorry about that. Okay. To this. Another thing I do want to point out for you is a lot of these things that we do find successful at home. Um, that we find successful at school. They're going to be successful at home, but they are going to be a little bit more challenging because you are the parent and you are not the teacher. This is, you are safer. You're the one that children are going to test first. There's enough separation between a teacher and a child. Of course, we love them, and they do love us, and they usually feel very comfortable with us, but not as comfortable as they feel with a parent. So uh, this basically means that you have to be almost better at holding boundaries and also better at maintaining a calm aspect while dealing with some frustration at home with your child, because they're going to push you harder than they push us at school. And also, we have kind of the peer effect. Everybody's doing this. We have really clear, consistent um, processes at school, and it's much easier for us to maintain those clear processes and schedules and things at school. I know at home I'm not very good at really maintaining a super consistent schedule. Is difficult, especially when you do have multiple children in different age groups. It is more difficult. You need to give yourself a little bit of space, and understand that it is going to be challenging. You are going to get frustrated at times. It's also really important that both parents try to be on the same page. And I know this is nearly impossible, but really, it is so valuable for your children, and it can really make it less frustrating for everybody if you can talk through scenarios and come to some agreed upon way to manage a certain situation that's happening at home, because that is also something that contribute to the child's kind of heightened misbehavior, is where they're getting different responses out of different parents. And again, it's just part of that figuring out where their power is, where they get attention and how. It's the perennial, if mom says no, let's see what dad says. So try really, really hard to be partners in this, to check in with each other before you answer a child, especially a little bit older one who's got this figured out. Oh, well, let's go talk to mom and we'll come up with the answer. And you can usually tell right away if by the look on their face if they already asked mom and they didn't like the answer. But try to be really careful about that. Like I said, I speak only from a lot of years of, some successes and many failures as well. I learned almost everything I teach you today by raising my own children, and I didn't know any of this when I was raising them. I made lots of mistakes. And then, of course, I've had years of training and now many, many years of working with many other people's children in a lot of scenarios. So now I can tell you very securely that these things, they really, really work, and they will work at home, even though they don't work as quick and easy as they work in the school environment. But they are really great ways to build relationship with your child, with your partner, and it's not easy, and we all lose our patience. So I just want you to give yourself some space on that, okay? But try to work together. And sometimes, maybe you have a real strong opinion about how things should be, and so does your partner. You may just have to find a happy medium that doesn't meet either one of you perfectly, but is something you can be consistent on with your child. The consistency is very important. Okay, so why are we so passionate about independence in the Montessori environment? The feeling of successfully doing something meaningful on one's own is a huge factor in building a sense of self-confidence. And it builds over time as one success leads a child to feel more confident that something they want to try next will also be successful. And strong self-confidence is a really key factor in long-term success and happiness. It's definitely a key factor in resilience, and in risk taking. So really important long-term. There are many opportunities to build physical coordination: hand grasp, wrist rotation, finger control, core strength, balance, spatial awareness. And young children seek opportunities for maximum effort, meaning, lifting things heavy, pulling their body weight, etc. So let them move the kitchen tower or a table or chair or a bucket of water all by themselves. Just show them how to do it safely. There are opportunities to learn order and logical sequence of events. That too, logical consequence too sometimes, but logical sequence of events. And this is building that logic brain, helping them to think what comes next, what comes next, what comes next, or what might happen if. Learning to put things where they belong so that we can find them when we want them later, very important. Learning the sequence of washing a table from clearing the table surface to getting the table cleaning bucket, filling it with water, dipping the scrubber in the water, and then the soap, and then scrubbing the tabletop in small circles. We show them circles. And then using the sponge to carefully wipe off the soap. We show them top to bottom, left to right. And then rinse and wring out the sponge and wipe again, and then dry with a towel. And then empty the dirty water, making sure the cleaning tools are put away tidily in the right place. That's a lot of steps. So even something as simple as cleaning a table can be a really great mind growing process for a child. Learning how to do things correctly offers opportunities for practicing appropriate behavioral boundaries, and it sets them up for learning some self-discipline and follow-through. The sponge does not get thrown on the floor when you're finished, and the bucket of water does not get poured on the table, etc. When you know that they know how to use a sponge, you'll feel much more confident in requiring them to use one to clean up a spill for themselves. I was just chatting with a family today, and I, was saying that I really liked Montessori because, for example, I know that my children by 5 years old, they knew how to wash a dish. I mean, they were little, maybe it wasn't perfect, but they definitely knew how to do it, and they could do it. And so when they got to be 15 and 16 and they didn't want to wash the dishes, I knew they knew how, and I didn't have any problem setting that boundary. Nope, you don't get to do the next, thing that you want to do until the dishes are washed, because I already know that they know how. So I feel confident in setting, that boundary. So start now. So you've got a head start when they get to be teenagers. It doesn't get any easier. Being helpful and independent gives the child opportunities to seek and receive your highly valued attention. Remember, a mistaken goal number one, misguided attention, through positive and helpful actions, and to spend time with you, doing the daily chores that do take up a lot of our adult lives. When they feel included, they're less likely to seek attention through negative behavior. And finally, doing real work is much more engaging for children than being relegated to pretend participation. Engagement teaches concentration, and concentration brings a feeling of peace and joy. I think you'll find that that's true in yourself too. And you find yourself in those moments of really, feeling there and concentrated and happy with the outcome. It feels good. It feels really good. Again, I can give you my granddaughter. She's just amazing little person, but she likes to do everything herself. And she's been very well supported in independence as a young child. She just turned 4, so she's small still. A few months ago, my son gave me a vacuum mop combo thing, which is very cool. And she was here with me hanging out, and I got it out to do a little bit of cleaning, and she wanted to try it. And I mean, all you do is walk around and push it. It's not very hard. And she cleaned my whole first floor of my house and had a blast doing it. So, she'd rather have that than follow me around with a little fake plastic one that actually doesn't do anything. And there was nothing dangerous about it, and I was right there. But she really enjoyed that. So real work, very empowering for them. Then I take a moment. I'm going fast tonight. I kind of kept it tight because I knew that I couldn't talk for too long. So please, I see some questions here. Oh, I see a comment. Somebody says, yeah, their son helps them put things away from the dishwasher, which is great, although sometimes they have to go looking for where he might have put them. But that's always great too, and a good learning opportunity. And when you do find it, you might then bring him back with you and say, "Hey, I'm looking for the colander. Do you remember where you put the colander?" And he might remember. It's kind of surprising sometimes. But if he doesn't, you can then include him. Well, let's go looking and let me show you where it belongs. So next time you can get it in the right spot. So that's a really nice follow-up opportunity. If it does end up in the wrong spot, there's a learning moment, but make it a really kind learning moment. Okay? Anybody have any questions so far? Yoki dokie. Continuing on. Okay, so I do see some very common things going off track for families. Here's a couple of examples. Number one, rushing the child. It does take children longer to do things. They get distracted along the way. Of course, that's part of it, but also just their skills are not where yours are. So plan your timing for success. Start them earlier. Know when you have to leave and get a feel through your observation of your child. How long does it take them to get ready? Are they one of those children who's like, but I need this and I need that and I need this and I need that and I need this and I need that, some children are just right to it. Go get your shoes on. Okay, boom, they're on, they're gone. Great. If your child's like that, you only have to start 5 minutes. But if yours is a little bit more roundabout, you might want to give 10 or 15-minute warning. We're going to be leaving. Please go. Start, right? So start earlier. You can create charts to help them remember the steps that are needed. Visual charts are great, little pictures of what you have to do first, second, third. Go to the bathroom, get your jacket, put on your shoes, whatever the steps are that you want them to do to get out the door. Make little pictures and help them to see that. Be really careful that your verbal and your nonverbal communication is not telling the child that they are doing something wrong if they can't get their shoes on fast enough, for example. So instead of saying in an annoyed voice, hurry up, I'm late for work, which happens and we all feel that way, but try instead in a calm voice to say, it's time to go to the car. I'll help with one shoe and you can do the other. Or it's time to go to the car. Bring your shoes and you can finish putting them on in the car or at school. So there's usually other options. We have our preferred option, get the darn shoes on so we can walk out the door together. I mean, that's always our preferred option. But keep in mind there are other ways to get there. And we at school for sure are totally used to this. We do this at school too. They get up from nap and they got to put their shoes back on. And it might take them a long time, but we're just going to be asking them, well, you can sit right here in your cot, and as soon as your shoes are on, you could go have snack. And that's a thing you can do. You can kind of let them know what they could be doing if they had their shoes on, but you don't want to beat them over the head with it. You can't say it more than once. Oh, are you feeling hungry? Well, as soon as your shoes are on, I've got snack for you. But say it once. Don't keep saying, hurry up, your snack is there if you want to have snack. Come on. I know you want a snack. You look hungry. Let's get your shoes. Like, don't keep going because then it becomes kind of badgering. You can give a little enticement. Ooh, there's something more interesting to do than just sitting here waiting to get your shoes on. But be really careful about how you do that. And you also are fine to just bring them if they didn't get their shoes on, they didn't get their clothes on, just bring them to school as they are and bring their things with them. And we'll continue the process that you were doing. We'll just, have a little chair and say, oh, welcome to school. Here's a chair. Here's your clothes. As soon as your clothes are on, you can come join us outside, or whatever it is we're going to do. And usually pretty quickly, they will just decide to get those shoes on or their clothes on. The other day, my beautiful granddaughter, my many stories of her because she's just the same age, she was having a total fit after having a bath because she didn't want to put her clothes on. She's been able to get dressed since like 18 months old. So it's not that she couldn't, she was doing one of those attention spin things. And so I kind of stepped in and I said, hey, it's time to get going in the car. And you can either put your clothes on by yourself or you can go get in the car naked. We'll bring your clothes with you. And she was having a fit and crying when I said this. And she stopped and she bust out laughing. And she said, I'm going naked. I said, okay, here's your clothes. And she carried her clothes and off she went. And she made it through the house to the door, walked out the door onto the outside porch, and decided for herself that actually she was going to put her clothes on. So, it really didn't end up being that far. But even if she got all the way to school naked, really, no big deal. Once they get there, a little bit of peer people looking at her, hey, where's your clothes? How come you're not dressed? She'll be like, yeah, I think I'm going to get dressed right now. So it's okay. Don't feel embarrassed. If something isn't going right, we can support you, in continuing your calm response to not giving in to doing it for them. If you know that they know how, just bring them to us, okay? Or bring them wherever you're going. If you're going to a birthday party or whatever, they'll get a kind of a similar response from people. Hey, how come you don't have any shoes on? Okay. We see a lot of times parents guiding every step for the child, like preventatively. A parent picking up the child from school will often say, get your water bottle, get your jacket, get your bedroll, get your backpack, say goodbye to your friends. And they never give the child the opportunity to be responsible or to feel capable. A better process is to talk with your child about all the things that they need to bring to school or to bring home again, like the day before on the weekend, a little discussion. You can even make a visual chart for that. Here's all the things that we need to bring to school and that we need to bring home every day. And then when you arrive at school to pick them up, uh, you can ask them, when we leave school, what do we do? And you've already prepped them, you've practiced. So often they will be able to tell you the steps. And you can just give them a huge smile and note how they're so responsible and they know what to do. Go ahead, take care of it. And if they forget a step, then you can gently remind them. Maybe you can even bring your visual chart to show it. Okay, let's check and see. Did you remember all the steps? And let them figure it out. This is the self-correction. A very big part of the Montessori environment is self-correction, not making them feel bad by constantly telling them, no, 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 that's not right. But giving them the opportunity to determine if they're right themselves. And we use a lot of what we call control charts, things that they can use to check their own work. Hold on, can't breathe. Okay. Another one we see quite a bit is kind of what I would call shaming or nagging the child. When adults get stressed or frustrated, we can use language that can be hurtful. Sometimes I'll hear something like, I've asked you 5 times, or I've shown you how to do this many times, or why are you doing this? This kind of language can be shaming, can make the child feel that they're not capable or that they've done something wrong because they're not able to master a skill or task. And honestly, they don't generally rationally know why they're doing something. And even if they do, they probably won't tell you. So if you hear yourself saying these sorts of things, look in the mirror, as Michael Jackson sings. I like that song. Look at the man in the mirror, right? Take a look inside. If you have asked them 5 times, then you're not following your words with actions. Explain your expectations and the consequences for not complying once, and then follow through with action. Stop talking. When you followed through a couple times after one request, they will start to believe that you mean what you say, and they will start to then comply much more quickly. So keep that in mind. If you have shown a child many times, maybe there's something not child-friendly about the situation. Maybe a clasp is too difficult, or the shirt is too tight, or the picture's too heavy, the drawer is too high. Ask the child to show you and observe, Montessori observation, where you see the difficulty arises for them, and come up with a more child-friendly solution. And if you're finding yourself asking, why are you doing this? Refer to the mistaken goals chart. It's actually set up kind of that way. If you're feeling this way, then maybe this is what's happening, and it can give you some ideas. Very commonly, it's attention or power, or one of the other mistaken goals. And you can find ways to offer them the attention or the power that they're seeking in a much more positive scenario. All right. All right, guys, that is what I have for you tonight. Like I said, I kind of kept it short. Any questions, any scenarios you're having that you'd like me to brainstorm with you? Any way I can help? Feel free to speak up or write in the chat. Either way. Well, if not, I thank you so much for joining me tonight. I hope you enjoy the path with your child. I know it can be very challenging at times, but is also really joyful. Uh, and really thinking about that consistency and lots of independence and really clear boundaries and following through with those boundaries. Uh, Really important. And every possible thing they can do for themselves. Be careful that you're showing them specifically how to do something. Um, every little step, how you do it with your hands. And when we demonstrate things at school, we're actually very careful not to talk a lot while we're showing how to do something, because mostly they're going to need to see your hands and what you're doing with your hands. And when you talk, they're going to look at your face, and they're going to miss what your hands are doing. So try not to talk and just show with your hands. You can give like a couple key words, but that's a very effective way when you're showing somebody. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining me. And thank you. I hope I feel better too. I'm going to go to bed and hopefully I'll feel better tomorrow. Good night.